My name is Narek Alaverdyan, and I work for Hotels.com here in London. And I'm going to be basically talking about a journey that Hotels.com has been through over the last 5 years, and I'm hoping that there will be some interesting learnings for you today here. But before I get started, how many people here know about Hotels.com? Okay, fair enough. Out of everybody who knows about Hotels.com, how many people, until maybe the last few days, knew that Hotels.com had a very big technology team in London? 1, 2, 3 people, four people. Well, 5 years ago that wasn't the case. Now we have a big technology team in London. The primary offices of Hotels.com are in London, also across Rome for engineering, and with our offshore partner in Hungary. But Hotels.com is basically one of the biggest hotel booking websites in the world. It's owned and operated by Expedia Inc. That is the world's biggest online travel holding company, if I can say so. And you can see all the different brands that Expedia owns. Have been quite a few recent acquisitions as well, and it became in the 1.3 trillion travel industry the biggest player with all these different brands. And Hotels.com is one of the 2 primary brands, Expedia being the other one. So it's really good for all these different brands having the power of such a big company. You know, if you need investment, if you need creativity or anything, the power of the entire company is behind you. But I'm going to basically go back a few years where the company was still growing. You know, Hotels.com, fantastic year-on-year growth, etc. But technology and product and all that world wasn't a happy place. You know, very basic user journey. The customer lands on a page. They go through, they search for a destination. They see a hotel. They kind of look at the hotel they might want to book. They book the hotel, and then they can manage the booking. You know, this is the most basic customer journey. But everything essentially was served from one single application. It's one single WAR file, and you know, everybody used to have something like this in mind, a big monolith. It wasn't a great place to be. Obviously, we were only managing to do 1 release a quarter. That's a really horrible place to be. And for a company that, nowadays has over 500 million unique visitors a year, but back then, let's say half. But for a company of that size, having a 14-week feedback cycle for even the tiniest feature released to customers was extremely bad. The code merge was a nightmare. Yes, we were a big team. We're all working on the same product. But teams used to work on different branches, and there was like a 10 days of merge nightmare. It was basically, I don't want to go there anymore. Over 3,000 known production bugs. Yes, we all had migrated to Agile, using Scrum, you know, operating 2-week sprints and everything, but then 2-week sprints, all the code generated, and then where do we go there? We wait until it goes out in a quarter, you know, after basically a quarter, essentially. And the tech stack, well, be boring, Java, Hibernate, and Microsoft SQL Server, etc. This used to be kind of shared around when we asked people to fix things or build things, and got a response why it wasn't going to be easy. But then, you know, we started thinking, what if we could release on demand and, you know, send things to customers as quickly as we can, and you know, start imagining a world where we're able to deliver rapidly to customers. We truly worked as one team without any big blockers when we had to merge the code together and ship to production. What if we were able to keep things simple and don't do kind of big, over-engineered, multi-layer abstraction kind of projects that never really add value in the future? How about if we were able to technologically focus on mobile first, you know, responsive, adaptive, and all that? And how could we attract great talent? Because we really wanted to build an engineering team in London. All our teams at that point were outsourced with an offshore partner, EPAM in Hungary, and we had no presence in London, essentially. So, well, it's simple. All you need to do is just, you know, get a piece of paper, sit down and say where we are now, where we want to be, and how we're going to get there, and then basically ask your president, CEO, or someone in the leadership team to give you 1 year of non-disturbed technology work, and that's the end of the presentation. No, it doesn't work, obviously. What works is the set of 3 questions, but just more rapidly, day in, day out. Where are we? Where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. You did something, got a learning. How are we going to change our strategy, our approach to doing things in the future? So going back to the world, just wanted to talk about where the journey started and how we started basically applying this. So you remember the big monolith? That was basically the one thing that we had to tackle. It used to take 20 minutes to build. So in an engineer's life, imagine changing something and then waiting for the application to build 20 minutes. It's one of the biggest waits, essentially. So what we did, we basically went through a slicing exercise and sliced kind of the monolith vertically into multiple different applications that you can see on that slide. So we have currently, they're still there. We have landing application, shopping, property details, booking app, customer care app. We have a few more now, but this is essentially the key user journey. So they will land at the home page, which is served from landing app. They would search for a hotel. You see the listing of hotels, filter, see prices, and compare on the shopping app, which also has the map functionality that basically kind of drill down into one hotel's details and the property details app, obviously book on booking app, and then use the customer app to manage their booking. This was the first thing, and I'll get to the core services later. Basically, what this helped us to do is decentralized ownership. Previously, it was a big monolith. No one really wanted the ownership. No one claimed the ownership of the app. So that is in that world, progress and thinking about doing things better wasn't going to happen. So what we did, we basically reorganized teams in a way where 1 or 2 teams and max owned an application, and they were basically the custodians of the application. They were the ones who, would sign off for that to be released in production, or etc. But code built and run much faster. From 20 minutes, the engineers could just change something and release, and see the change within 50 seconds or 1 minute or 2 minutes. It's much quicker, much better place to be. What we did at the same time is streamlining our release process and coming up with a way to decouple the release from the day-to-day engineering world, where we said, okay, so we want to release quickly. What we'll do, we'll basically introduce a release vehicle that departs to our production environment once a fortnight, and it's going to be up to the teams to, when the sprint finishes, to sign off their application for release. If they sign off, then that will the application is going to board on the plane and fly to production, essentially, to use the analogy. This helped us a lot. So this is no longer going kind of our release process that we'd like to use nowadays. It has changed now. Talk about that. But this helped us basically release 22 times a year. This was back in 2013. Many different patches and small releases, and helped us do about 250 A/B tests. So that's split tests for those of you who know. It's basically having 2 different variants of the same feature or different features, and then testing on customers and seeing which one works better. And from 3,000 production bugs, we basically reduced the bug count to less than 300 because, again, in the previous world, no ownership. No one wants to claim ownership or anything, but in the new world, we could actually say, okay, the shopping team have so many bugs to fix, and they could just go and fix the bugs and make the world a better place. One of the key learnings of all this is the fact that there has to be a mindset change, because delivering fast or delivering value requires good tools, new tools, and new methods. And one of the key resistors to this is the fact that people like what they do and they don't want to be disturbed, right? So you have to work with teams to come up with, so the diffusion of innovation model is actually a good thing to have here, because change usually comes from 1 or 2 people, but then you can quickly see that there are a few people who are interested in that change, and you need to basically work with them to make the change happen. So people need to have the mindset that there's no perfect tool, and if we use a certain tool for deployment today, it's fairly sure that we are not going to be keeping that forever because we constantly want to improve. And few weeks, few months, or few years down the line, we need to be migrating to new tools and processes. And the other thing is, in the old world, we had a couple of architects who would come up with pages and pages of technical architecture documents, and teams had to sign off things. So obviously we got rid of that as well. And also we have basically a tech radar where this is what we primarily use to drive processes and our services platform and processes and principles. But I think the core principle on the top is let adoption drive policy. So if we see, so this helps our teams to maintain more or less a consistency. If one team in Rome started investigating a particular new technology, and there is willingness for another team in London to do the same, they would basically go here, see if that technology is being used already or trialed already, and join synergies and basically help each other out. Or if they know that somebody has already built functionality using particular technology, they can get learnings out of there. So once we see communities or groups form like this, then obviously that will drive the policy for the future. Next things that came into our attention in our journey were pipelines. So basically we're focusing on automating the workflow and as many actions in our release process to make sure that basically taking code from the developers' machines to productions happened without any manual effort. So that's basically pipelines, and for pipelines we use for as a CI environment with Bamboo there. And the second thing is containers. It's not a great place to be in that multi-component, multi-application, and multi-services environment where every app or service has its own deployment script and is deployed a different way. That essentially creates a lot of work for our platform, our tech operations teams, and creates a big nightmare there. So basically, by migrating to Docker or similar technology, basically we just get the platform teams to focus on shipping, just on how they ship containers and how they can become better at that, and try to package everything that we want to push to production into the containers provided. So we have many applications, services, jobs, plugins, etc. And we are still in this journey of migration into our continuous delivery platform. And basically on the right-hand side, we have the number of things that are already in there. On the left-hand side, the things that are still on our release kind of vehicle, the one that I showed. But we are, as in pretty much all other things, our approach is more opportunistic. So we won't just go and block everything and say we're going to migrate these 99 things, because it might be that in the next year or 2 years we release nothing in these 99 jobs and modules. So we try to focus on what is going to add value at the first place. The other thing, this is more process focused. We started focusing on the flow, understanding, we're still operating in Scrum. Do we still need the iterations? Because with continuous delivery, teams started talking about, do we really need to wait for, a week to push something to production if we're able to push a button and it's the stuff that we delivered is going to go to production. So technology had already changed. We went from the big monolith to many different applications and services. And that basically prompted our engineering teams to start migrating to Kanban. Because they realized, in a normal day-to-day life, they could just pull something off the backlog, work on it, analyze, work on it, release themselves, measure that everything is, everything works as desired in production, and then basically they can call it done. So definitions started to change. What previously would be called done, as in signed off and ready to be shipped to production, the done became basically shipped to production and released to all our customers. And suddenly we go from a 25-day release cycle time to cycle times of less than a day. And I'll talk to that in a second. So basically, process started focusing on flow a lot more. I was walking around the office once, and I realized that one of our teams, one of our engineers actually here, standing there, I realized something had changed in the way they conduct their stand-up. Because it's like, sometimes you see something visually that doesn't make sense. And I realized they were, instead of going left to right, they were going right to left. As in, they would traditionally bring something onto the board or into the kind of work in progress, but they were getting rid of stuff from their backlog. So I realized, speaking to them, that they start the stand-up by pushing items to production first, creating space on the board, and then going and, if possible, grabbing something from the backlog. So that basically changed all the ownership, empowering the teams to decide when they want to release and what they want to release to production. So it just creates a completely different environment there. And it's the same team who hit kind of a record-breaking cycle time for our engineering team. That was basically 4 hours. It's a new feature, new functionality, basically a story, retrieved from the backlog, developed, tested, pair programmed, tested, code reviewed, gone through all our continuous integration pipeline, and appeared on production within 4 hours. And this is an email from one of our product managers who basically just was so excited about that he wanted to email and share the information with his colleagues and all our wider technology and product leadership. So it's a great place to be when these things start being noticed by your product or marketing peers, because initially when we were about to start on journey, like, no, we're fine, we can release once a fortnight, that's quick enough for us. But now they're realizing that instead of waiting for 2 to 4 weeks to get their item in production, they can do it within hours, and that's just a completely different enabling world. So where we are now and we're focusing now, I think we have gone through a transition from the traditional IT mindset. For those of you who might be familiar with Marty Kagan from Silicon Valley Product Group, he has a very nice blog post about the IT versus product mindset. So what he calls IT is essentially the guys who might provide you with a laptop or an iPhone. It's basically the IT guys who sanction the hardware. You go there to them if you need a hardware problem or software problem to be solved. And the product mindset is a completely different world where it's a cross-functional, cross-discipline product, marketing, creative designers, and basically it's a bunch of people, obviously software engineers, coming together to basically craft products for our customers. So that is the world that we're going into. We're not 100% there, but we're very, very close. And what we're focusing on primarily is validated learning. Because previously and traditionally in our industry, you would end up working on things for 6 months, a year, push to production and find out that it's not adding any value. What we want to achieve is, by just keeping it simple and focusing on validating if an idea we have adds value to our customers or not. Because if we work for even 2 weeks, push something to production and it adds no value to our customers, then we have pretty much done nothing. So we're very big on split testing or A/B testing. Sometimes A, B, C, D, E testing, so different variants, but this is and that's on all platforms, from desktop, mobile, tablet, etc. So if you can see, the difference is basically we do any type of testing. It could be that just a word changes in the entire page. It could be that the address, instead of the address, you have a map there. And because we have a massive amount of traffic. So for example, on our search results page, in average, we would have close to 2 million unique visitors a day. It's very easy to basically within few days, few weeks to come to significance whether a particular variant adds more value than the control group. So we have very good analytics tools that bring all our clickstream, Omniture data, and Google Analytics data all together, and we can basically see trends and patterns. How do our customers convert if they see, say, an address versus a map there? But it creates a complexity. So, I think when I was doing the slides, there were 21 active A/B tests on our search results page, and it's essentially different experiences. And I'm not even counting A, B, C, D, E, etc. Just 2 variants for each test. Comes to basically close to 17 million different variations of that page that's out there. And it could be that 17 million different customers see different experiences. But it's basically very key to what we do, because do you know, in average in the industry, for example, what percentage of these A/B tests result in making money, essentially adding more value to the company? Very close. The industry average is about 35%. So what that means is the 60% or 70% time that we spend on doing something, it doesn't add any value. It's quite painful if you learn things. You learn that our customers on our Korean point of sale do not like our italicized Korean text because it doesn't make sense. You learn that, and you obviously get better in what you want to test, but still, at the end of the day, when all is said and done, you have not gained anything in value for the company. So our focus recently has been on basically bare MVPs. Let's focus on MVPs, and once in like a VC culture style, let's focus on MVPs. If we see that it adds value, then you will have all the money, all the funding you want to go and build it properly. So some of our teams have shifted from the traditional, I have a team, I own a particular functionality, and I just work on that functionality, to basically, we have 2 types of teams now, in some areas where we have teams who focus on experimentation. So that's the area, those are the teams that basically bring product managers, our user creative designers, our user interface engineers, and our site optimization specialists, and everybody together to come up with how ideas can be validated as quickly as possible. So it could be that something that might take 6 months to deliver is tested by doing a week's worth of work and saving the company almost 6 months if the idea doesn't add any value. And this could be very creative. So I'll give you an example. I don't have a screenshot, unfortunately, but on our hotel details page. So imagine that's one hotel you are thinking about staying at, and you see price and different rooms and rate types, different types of rooms, etc. On that page, we have a functionality that when you, basically it's called Price Watch, that you can sign up, and we will notify you if the price that you have seen goes up, down or up. We have like a threshold there. So if it's £100, if it goes £150, we'll email you and say, the price is going up for this room. So idea was there. Do we want to do that or not? We know that one of our competitors is doing it, but we don't know if it's successful or not. We speak to our teams, and some of the teams say it will probably take about 3 sprints to deliver. We need to do some two options, obviously, either batch processing, or we need to have a messaging framework with our pricing team. If price changes, then we send an email out. But we were still not clear if it's going to add value for our customers or not. And then somebody suggested, how about we just put a link out there and see if our customers are even interested in that? So we just put the Price Watch link there without any functionality whatsoever, and you just hover your mouse arrow over it, and it says, sign up here and we'll notify you if the price changes. You click on it, nothing happens. There are sometimes broken features on the website. It's okay. And we enable it for about 5% of our customers, and we see that out of the 5%, significant amount are trying to interact with that. They want to watch the price and see what happens. And the next step, no, we don't go for the full-blown version yet. We basically open the pop div where customers can provide their email address, sign up, and we won't notify them yet. But test again quickly, and great engagement. Many customers are putting their email address in there. So then obviously that's the validation that let's go for it. We go for it, and believe me, it adds a lot more millions in terms of sales for the company. So this is what is driving. And on the other side, we have kind of core engineering teams who focus on first, value that is kind of, first on features that are proven to add value from this group. So if the teams on the left-hand side test that certain features add value, all they do is basically push the idea over to the other team. If they prove that something is not going to add value, they basically are responsible for cleaning up the code base themselves. So we don't basically leave that there for the future. And the other thing the guys on the right-hand side focus on is more core product roadmap, as well as core technology roadmap, like cloud migration, etc., or things where we just know that we got to do that. We're not going to be validating it. We will check in the end if things add value or not, but we're not going to be validating it because we really want to do that. And we have rotations between engineers. So somebody's fed up working on non-exciting stuff on the right-hand side, they will swap with someone else for a week or 2 weeks or a month. So that keeps those energy levels high. In fact, I was chatting to one of our engineers in Hungary a few months back, and by talking about this transition and his transition from the core engineering team to the experimentation team, he said, I felt like in the old world, I was responsible for taking information from A to B. So it's like that's what engineering is about. In this world, I feel like I have a brush and I just do things and see how customers or people react to that. So because, yeah, you just focus on finding the creative ways to test, validate ideas. Be mindful of time. So what is our platform doing then? So slicing continues. This used to be the big monolith. Now we have applications, some business microservices. We have core shared services, services that are responsible for geographic resolution, content, customer data and property pricing, etc. So it's basically a completely different world. What we have like an interesting analogy that we use where in English, in terms of the principles for our architecture, in the English language, we've got 26 letters, about 200,000 to 300,000 words in Oxford English Dictionary. And because those are standardized, that's why we can express unlimited number of different sentences in every way we want. And because everybody has a fair understanding of what the letters are, what the words are, we can combine and create different sentences and unlimited number of sentences. So that's essentially our primary focus from the customer front is to be able to create as many variations of experiences as we want and see which ones work for the customers. So we have core shared services, core technologies like Cassandra, for example, or Kafka. We have business services, or those are microservices in most cases that are responsible for a particular. So the business core services are responsible for, say, pricing, for example, or geography, but the business services are responsible for like orchestrating different things together, and that allows us to basically create unlimited number of features for our customers. So in terms of more kind of serious architectural diagrams, basically, this is kind of our thinking for our main platform. We have edge services, we have business services that I spoke about. So it would be shopping. Shopping is the world where you bring together hotel-related content, hotels, pricing information, geography information, and basically orchestrate shopping experience for our customers. And we have core services, and we rely on few third-party services. And this is kind of the key vision for our platform. And for at the same time, we also have a reactive data architecture. This is basically data that's not required for real-time use, but it's basically used for post-processing and running insights and using the insights to personalize customers' experiences. And in this world, you have to basically think about deployment granularity, and you have to accept that because we can come from a world where there was one big application, now there are hundreds. And what we try to get our platform teams to focus on is basically accepting increasing granularity. Is making it easy for developers to ship these different items to production, and enhance the platform to deal with complexity and performance, failure, and basically other things that help developers' life, to make developer life easy. Company continues growing. I mentioned that we have, I don't know, close to 600 million unique visitors a year now, and that's not the only thing. We have all our traffic, just mentioned. We have inventory. So I think in the last 2 years, we doubled the amount of hotels or properties that are available on hotels.com. So that creates another complexity. I'll bring an example. I think we had an interesting case where the number of hotels in Paris on hotels.com went above 2,000, I think, and then the page basically stopped rendering. It's like a 500 error on production. And then we realized there was actually limitation back then on SQL Server, where if you're using, I don't know the details, but basically there's a limitation from SQL Server where if you have too many basically IDs in some sort of a query, then it stops working. So all these things you can predict, things just happen. So if the inventory increases, then obviously that creates an interesting complexity there. We have different brands. So hotels.com has the platform, but it also provides a white label capability. So there are different brands that basically operate on hotels.com. For example, Venere.com is another Expedia company that's focusing primarily on Southern Europe, and they are basically like a different UI on top of hotels.com platform. We have companies like United Airlines, Swiss Air, etc., who once you book a flight, then they have a Swiss hotel experience, but it's essentially on top of hotels.com. And people. When I joined back in 2011, overall the technology team was about 140 people. Now we're about 500 people. So you have to manage the complexity on that front as well. If I summarized kind of top delivery principles, it would be one team. So we need to have a common goal, mission. We need to be bold. We need to be also humble. Keep it simple. So somebody suggests you do something. Keep it simple. Learn from MVPs, and then gradually, if you learn something, adds value, then increment the size and test. And once you establish where you want to go, then you will definitely have all the funding to do it. Rapid delivery. So continuous delivery, being like one click away from the customers, ability to deliver on demand, continuous learning, real time, to be able to learn real time what happens in production with your team's performance, I'd say, or if you're operating Scrum, what's happening with the sprint. Retrospectives, be proactive. DevOps, teams to know first. If something happens in our production environment, we basically want to create the culture where our teams notify the platform or tech operations rather than it being the other way around, because we have really good monitoring tools and tracking, alerting tool mechanisms, etc. Mobile first. We are everywhere, including in Asia, where, for example, mobile is big. So we got to be responsive, adaptive, simple, quick, seamless, being ability to go seamlessly from your desktop to your mobile phone while continuing your shopping experience. And obviously, it touches everyone, ensure business continuity. So, platform stability, audits, and everything, because, if production environment doesn't work, then you can't really focus on anything else. So this changed, in 2011 or 2012, nobody would think about having technology and product goals together, but it has changed, where all our primary goals that we set for ourselves are between technology and product departments, because there's a realization that nobody can, these two cannot live without each other. And this is then one level below, where on the tech side, what we try to do is enable our business. So we use technology to enable whatever our business wants to achieve in the marketplace, improve our pace. So that's the focus on how can we have a quicker cycle time, quicker lead time, and identify issues much more quickly, and so on. Elevate our profile. As I did a little quiz in the beginning. There were only 4 or 5 people out of the room who knew about hotels.com. And the reason we're here, we have a stand there, is basically to increase the awareness that we're here. We're a really good place to work. We're based in Angel. We have really good offices. So we're trying to elevate our profile, not only here, but also within the within the big portfolio of different brands that Expedia owns. And Shape Our Future is basically about things like graduate programs and women in technology, for example, painful thing for all the different companies operating here. So I think I'm very close to wrapping it up. So you can either take all these ideas from what I just went through and see if it applies at work for yourself, or if you want, you can come and work for us. There's hundreds of different roles open, and that's everything I had. So thank you. And if you, obviously I missed to mention that obviously the title of the talk is Evolving to Awesome Technology. You can see from the hashtags what technology we now use, from the Java and Hibernate, etc.
You talked about IT versus product mindset. Could you tell us about how you managed to change that and what difficulties or challenges you faced?
So the question was, there's a question about IT versus product mindset and how we managed to change that. It's quite difficult to change. I'm going to start with that because for some reason there is, you walk past different teams within our company, with other companies, so you hear the business wants this and the business wants to do that. But whilst people fail to acknowledge the fact that they are part of the business, they have similar kind of goals as the rest of the company, and that unfortunately is there, and that's the kind of the thing that is very hard to break. One of the key things is recruitment. Obviously, if you are still going to if you still need to hire the team, then focusing on hiring people who have that mindset, that's the easiest way. If you don't have the team yet, but if not, then it's just constant information. It's the information about the fact that I'll bring an example. So we had a module that was very difficult to work with. It would create a lot of complexity every time somebody wanted to fix a bug or even create a simple feature. Basically, they were shouting about people who wrote that code in the first place. And they came to me and said, we need you to go fight and get us like 3 sprints of time so we can go and fix this for the future. And I was like, okay, but how do you know if that we're going to be using that in the future? Obviously, we didn't fix that. And a few months later, we realized that basically we're going to have to migrate to a new technology that we're going to depend on. It's like an Expedia thing, which means that this module is going to be obsolete. So that mindset of letting go and only being opportunistic about these improvements, looking at the roadmap and saying, in 3 months' time, we're going to be working on this feature that's going to be touching these components. We can refactor and we can make the code base better as part of that project, rather than setting aside a different time, time period for that. The other one is, like 5 years ago, even 4 years ago, we used to have this 15% fixed take debt time, where basically the teams were supposed to just work on take debt, 15% of the sprint, for example. We are most of our teams are in a place where we no longer operate in this model. We basically just have a good relationship with technology and product in a way where we can prioritize the things that matter, things that will add value. So that's a bit difficult to get to that world, but I think overall it's a trust thing. It's the trust thing that first you need to care for your customers and just have the customer focus in everybody's mind. And if whatever you're doing on day-to-day basis is not going to add value for the customers, then you shouldn't be doing that. And by doing that, gain the trust of the rest of the company that you're actually customer focused. You're not just focused on building some technology that you're thinking will add value in six months or 6 years down the line, but it never really adds value. In the e-commerce, at least, that's the case, because things just change rapidly all the time. Thank you.
With the rapid delivery and delivery on demand, do you find that becomes more difficult the further you move down your architecture stack? So if you move away from edge services and closer towards third party, then turning
I can answer it myself, or I can ask one of our engineers there to answer, who works exactly on that.
Actually, I found it's almost the opposite. As closer to the core services, we're actually, it's much easier to focus our services on never introducing anything to break and change anything that we have. So if we had a service that changed slightly, then we have like a new service for that. And that means that we always release very quickly. Twice. Yeah. So we should break it. If we don't break anything that's there,
Even
it's released very quickly.
even without dependencies, so I mentioned there are a few dependencies that we have within Expedia. Any change that they make, the change is basically that it doesn't break things. So it's so we're always able to move quickly. Yeah, it's the closer we get to customer that the more complicated it becomes, because there's a lot more things to consider. You need to manage your UI assets, make sure that different pages do not have different assets. You need to manage your session, etc. Those things add complexity, obviously. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.